Caleb Hammer destroys this arrogant Mormon, thinking he knows more than he does in this heated exchange. As Caleb Hammer tries to educate this Mormon on his finances, this fool argues back, trying to prove he's smarter than Caleb Hammer and exposes himself for his own ignorance and bad decision-making skills. Let's jump in.
So you say you've been for 10 years. What?
You want me to start from the beginning?
Oh, for sake. Okay. Well, I'll cut you off if I'm bored, but sure.
In the beginning.
Okay, so it started 10 years ago when I bought my first car, and that's kind of where the debt is now. Is all these upside down
From your
vehicles.
first
My first car. Yep.
Our debt from now, 10 years later, is from our first car?
Because of poor financial decisions that I made. To be fair,
10 years old and you're still dealing with a car? Like, bro, what did you do?
Okay, go on.
The last 2 years, I've actually been doing better financially.
Yeah, head down that road.
Educating myself.
But you wouldn't be here if you were doing well financially,
right.
So I don't know what the
Right, you wouldn't be with Caleb Hammer if you were actually better.
talking about.
Right.
Yeah, go down that little road.
Okay, so 10 years ago, I bought my first car. I was a Prius, and it was something that I knew I could afford because I was in the military. I was active duty. I had that consistent paycheck. I knew that money was going to be coming in. So I had a $300 car payment, which wasn't terrible at the time. But then the following year, my wife's father passed away. And in that same week, my grandfather passed away. And my family, I guess we're emotional buyers when we get depressed.
Oh, come on.
Oh, no. Folks, you cannot be an emotional buyer. That is the worst possible thing to be. You might as well just throw your money away.
Don't say you got a car because someone passed away.
I traded my other Prius in for the
That's such.
It is.
Listen, everyone does cope spending in certain things. That is like an ultimate.
It is, but I justified purchasing that second vehicle because that money was coming in. I was getting a consistent paycheck. I wasn't going to get fired from the military. You don't just get fired from the military. That money's coming in regardless. So I knew I could afford it. It put me only about $100 in my checking account every single month after all the bills were paid because I was not making a lot. But
well, I don't think you could have afforded it then. You just mean you were able.
Like if you spend all your money and you've only got $100 left, bro, dude, that's not good planning. I get when you're in the military, especially if you're low ranking and not deployed, you're not really making much, which is why typically most of these guys live on base. But even at that, boy, you should not be stringing yourself up to less than $100.
Able to make the bill. That doesn't equal afford, though.
My financial education at the time told me if you can pay the bill, you can afford it.
Your financial education today is telling you to buy AMC. I don't give a shit at the time. Well, I think you're pretty.
Go, Caleb, but
yeah. Well, what do you do today? How good's your retirement?
I've got about 300 in it right now.
Yeah, your financial education's great.
Wait, $300? Did this guy just say he has $300 in his retirement? I mean, if he was in the military 10 years ago, right, he should be roughly around 30 right now, and he's only got I mean, shouldn't you have a pension or something with the military? Well, I mean, it changed when you get to like 20 years. I don't know all the rules, but still, like, that ain't good.
It is more now than it was in
your
the
retirement's
past.
More now?
Well,
300? 300
used to be higher.
So your retirement used to be higher?
It used to be a lot higher.
Okay.
Yep.
What happened? Well, did you gamble in it? Or did you take it out?
No, I actually had to use a lot of that for gas and car maintenance.
What the what?
Bro, get another job.
Okay, so you're the one we're listening to on finances today. Your financial education is a lot better today than it was in the past. I'm taking money out of my retirement for maintenance.
I had to. So
please tell me how.
So I was driving over the road
as you're trying to take out a personal loan, and the wife won't let you because she.
Well, I haven't taken out.
She knows how much you fuck up with finances.
I haven't taken out the personal loan. I want to maybe consolidate our debts, but to get to where my retirement, I had about $6,000 in my retirement, and when I left my over the road job, I took that retirement out.
When
it was about June of last.
If you take out your retirement, if he had $6,000, I mean, he should have still had to pay like heavy taxes on that. I don't know, like 40% or something. So he would have only kept, 60%, something like that. So $3,500
last year.
So this just happened. We can't use this is 2 years ago excuse anymore. This just happened.
I was trying to keep our family afloat and pay the bills.
And why weren't we?
Because the local job that I had was not.
Why didn't we have a fully funded emergency fund? The person that we trust with our finances is the one who's learned so much more and has gotten so much better over the years.
Well, because
I think that person would have an emergency fund. If the person I'm taking advice from for financial,
I would, but
you would, but you didn't. So why didn't you?
Gotcha, bitch.
I did once upon a time, Caleb.
Oh, and then what happened? The person that we're trusting for financial advice
probably blew it on Christmas or birthday for my kids.
I thought you were going to say crystal meth, I'll be honest.
No.
Christmas? You blew your emergency fund on Christmas. That is not an emergency fund. That is absolutely not an emergency fund. Like, so many of these young people just do not how to prioritize their finances. Like, this is just terrible.
I know we did a trip out to Arizona last year as well, and that cost a few $100s. And we drove out there, got hotels, went through a lot of gas, but that was a couple $100.
That was an emergency.
No, it wasn't an emergency, but
we used our emergency fund
because my wife wanted to see her brother that would live down in Arizona and take the kids.
That's not an emergency.
Which is an emergency
for her. It was because it didn't. She doesn't see her.
Was he dying too?
Well, no.
Okay.
So what he should have done is been the man in the relationship and said, honey, look, this is the emergency fund. It's there for when we absolutely need it. I know you want to see your brother, but I'm sorry, we can't use it for that. If you were the responsible one, that's what you should have been saying to her is let's not misuse appropriated funds for something else other than what they were designated for.
Okay.
But
then what was the emergency?
It wasn't an emergency. Kid.
Okay, so there wasn't an emergency yet. The one we are listening to for financial advice used their emergency fund for a nice little family go away.
Yeah.
And then we didn't have an emergency fund. So in order to take care of the family, when an emergency happened, we pulled from our entire retirement, which, by the way, over the last year you pulled out halfway through the year. Best year the S&P 500 has had this millennium, and you lost half of that ability to gain the return.
I did.
Plus penalties, plus taxes. But I'm going to hear a but.
I want to talk about why. I want to talk about why I spent all that money from my retirement for the gas and whatnot.
I'll tell you why, because you didn't have an emergency fund because you took a vacation.
Right. I had $250 in an emergency fund, but we didn't want to touch that. We wanted it to be an emergency fund. It isn't. It's a start. It is a start.
Why is the guy we're listening to financial advice only have $250 in an emergency fund?
Because it's a start.
Vacation?
When all of our money is essentially going to bills, $250.
Why is everything going to bills? I know how much you spend on fast food.
I know. Well, okay, but that is on the credit card. It's not coming from our checking account. It's coming from my credit card.
Oh, my God. So it's not coming out directly. We're just taking it as debt and paying interest on it. Brilliant.
Card, which is...
How was that better? The guy we're listening to for financial advice. How many times do I have to say that this episode?
Okay.
The f*** are you talking about? Go on.
Okay. So I'm trying to
I'll try to not interrupt.
I'll try to explain. So I want to talk about this local gig first that I had that kind of put us in this position where I had to pull from my 401k.
That's not what put you in.
But it did put us. It did.
That is not the primary cause.
It is linked. It is linked. So we were spending $850 on gas when I was doing this local job, just in gas to commute from my house to my job, which was in Idaho Falls and in Pocatello. I had to go there every day. It was local, but I had to commute to the Home Depot where it was based out of.
That's not local.
It is.
$850 a month in fuel. And that's not local. Like that's not even if you had terrible mileage, terrible mileage, there's no way. I mean, if you're getting 12, 14 miles a gallon, that still wouldn't account for $850 freaking dollars. That is absolutely what, like a local job is 5-10 minutes down the road, or within like 5-10 miles, and within 5 miles, I would even say if it's like really, really local, like in town, something like that. But if it's more than that, that's not exactly a local job. If you have to go the town over or whatever, then that's not local. But the fact that you just admitted you spent $850 in gas, there's no possible way that's right.
I had to drive 30 miles to pick up the truck, and then I would drive the local truck to local areas throughout the
Oh, but it's not
Southeast.
local to you.
It is local to me. It's 30 miles away.
30 miles is not local. If you have to drive a half hour on the highway to get somewhere else, that's not local. And if that's local to you, then your definition of local is messed up.
Wait,
30 miles is local in Idaho?
it is. It's pretty close too. Like, they hired me out of Idaho. They hired me out of Rexburg. It doesn't have to be. I don't know why they hired me. They shouldn't have hired me.
I mean, I get Idaho isn't nearly as dense as other places, but even at that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then 80 miles to get to Pocatello. It is local.
I don't know these
And
words.
80 miles?
It's okay. So from here to, I don't know what, 30 minutes. Texas is too big of a state for me.
San Marcos is just over 30 miles away, a completely different city.
For Texas.
That is not local.
For Texas.
Okay, whatever.
Idaho is significantly, you got a lot of smaller cities.
Yes, you have a lot of potatoes. I know.
So-
Go on.
No, you got a lot of smaller cities in between. So Rexburg is a hub. Idaho Falls is a hub. Pocatello is a hub. Boise is a hub. Twin Falls.
Doesn't mean the hub within the hub is local.
But they classify it as a local. Even if I were
Who's
to get
they? You?
I had to drive 30 miles with a not very fuel efficient vehicle to get to my job.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, what's up?
I immediately am going to distract you. Why'd you keep that job
Why?
instead of mass applying for another job where you're not blowing money to literally work it?
Well, it took me several months to realize how detrimental this job was.
The guy we're
A couple months. Wouldn't you know that in the first week? Like the first couple times that you had to fill up gas. If you had to do that every so couple days within the first week or two at most, you haven't figured out how much this is going to cost you at that point?
taking financial advice from?
Yes. So I got hired on with the assumption that the job was going to be paying $1,000 a week.
Was it?
And no, it wasn't. After
You learned that. You learned that after a week.
taxes, it was $900, and then they
What,
started.
did you
taking-
forget that taxes didn't exist?
Well, no, but I was assuming that $1,000 would almost be net. Like, they would pay me $1,100 gross and then $1,000.
what did they tell you?
They don't tell you the net when they hire you. Like if they say we're going to pay you $60,000 a year, they always are talking about the gross, because they don't know whether or not you're going to, are you going to have your taxes taken out, or are you going to change your withholding? They can't say what you're going to get on your net, because when you fill out your form, depending on how you fill it out, that can change a lot, right? I mean, if you have a health insurance, if you have other types of insurance, if you have other types of expenses that automatically come out. So it's always the gross. No one ever tells you what a job pays on the net.
They'd pay you.
They just said we could get you close to $1,000 a week.
Sounds like you were close to $1,000
Yeah, it
a
was.
week.
And then they took out taxes, which wasn't much, obviously.
Government, not them.
Well, whatever. And then they took out $25 a week for my 401k to invest into the 401k that I had with them. But that didn't
you didn't have to do. You chose.
I chose to do it. After
Mhm.
about 4 months into it, I decided to go ahead and start investing in it. But it was paying me, so it was paying about $800 a week after taxes. Okay, so after taxes and 401k, I was paying about $800 a week.
We
so
went from 900 to 800 by losing $25. I'm confused.
yeah, and then the
it
taxes.
said
and-
900 after taxes originally.
So that's what it would. So they said that they would pay me close to $1,000, but I didn't. They didn't tell me that close to $1,000 meant $900. So
So
900 is close to 1,000. That qualifies.
you lost a
$900
week of income
yeah,
per
so-
month in order to have the
Yep,
job
so
to commute.
So $800 a week is what I was getting paid. So $3,200 a month is what I was getting paid. We're paying $850 in gas every month just to fill up the car to commute to and from. And then my wife also, she works in Idaho Falls, so she had to drive to and from. But we have two vehicles, so she would generally take the more fuel efficient vehicle. But we would pay $850 a month on that. Then I had to pay $150 in maintenance every single month because of how much I was driving just to get to Idaho Falls or get to Pocatello.
Sounds like we apply for other jobs instead of losing our
I
job.
can't-
Instead.
So, but the
Or even at that, like if you're getting so terrible mileage, at the amount that you're paying in gas, you could basically find another car that gets better mileage, even if it's not good and not pretty, whatever. It could be kind of a junker. However, if you got that and it did pretty good gas mileage, small car, something like that, the amount of money that you might have to pay on the car every month versus the amount of gas that you are saving could offset that entirely. If you're having to come out that much out of pocket, I mean, look, if you had a car, it was getting 15 miles a gallon, and then you bought a car and the car payment was $200 a month, but it was getting double the gas. Now I know he says fill up the car, so I'm just assuming this car, but 850, double the mileage, that cuts it down to 400. Add in the car payment, you're in the sixes, 625, whatever. You're still spending less even at that point.
I couldn't, not with that job. It was very.
How many hours a week did you work?
It varied.
How many hours a week did you normally work?
I would work between 25 to 30 hours a week, sometimes more.
And how many hours were commuting a week?
Commuting a week, it would be round trip. An hour, 2, 3 hours. It'd be about 7 or 8 hours round trip commuting.
So 40 hours a week.
Yeah,
is what you dealt with, and you couldn't apply for other jobs, even though other people who work 40 hours a week apply to jobs.
And here's why I couldn't. Because
please tell me.
The schedule would not allow me to. So
would it allow you to log into LinkedIn?
No, it wouldn't. Now here's why. Though.
Huh?
Or how about Indeed? You can't get online and type into Indeed and look for some jobs. This is a total lack of priorities and just excuses at this point.
Let me explain. Please let me explain.
I'm gonna let you try.
So I had to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning every morning, start my job at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay. So from 5 in the morning, then I drive to Idaho Falls or I drive to Pocatello and I start my day. So why I couldn't apply for a job? So it's 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm up. Okay. So
that's when you woke up? Okay, wait, what time did you wake up?
Sometimes I'd wake up at 4.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I'd get up and I'd drive and I'd come home sometimes 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes I was working all the way till 6, 7 o'clock at night. If I had a schedule like that where I'm working till 6, 7 o'clock at night, nobody's going to want to work another job. Yeah, want to.
I don't give a about your wants. I care about how you had to pull out of 401k.
But you also got to spend time with your kids too.
I'm not saying don't, but if you put an hour aside a day to apply for jobs, it's worth it.
I could apply for another job, but what if I couldn't make it to my shift at McDonald's or at Burger King or whatever?
I'm not saying pick up a second job. I'm saying you're a replacement job for the job that wasn't working.
Because nothing pays as much as a truck driver.
Yeah, but you lost an entire week of income.
I did, but...
And not only that, he's making the argument nothing pays as good. Okay, so just because it's the top pay clearly doesn't equal the net that you need, on the back end. Like this is how you look at jobs. It's like your gas, the amount of time, all that. All of this factors in to how much you actually get to keep at the end of that week. So if this was the highest paying job, but you maybe had other jobs that paid less, but you didn't have to spend, say, $500, of all that gas money. Yes, it pays less, but you're saving on the back end on the fuel expenditure. So you actually come out with more on the net side rather than less. Like just because a job pays more, depending on the type of job, obviously like what this guy is doing, it doesn't equal more. I've known a guy before, he had to travel a lot for his job and stuff like that, and they would not pay for his gas. So yes, he could tax deduct that, but at the same time, he still had to pay for that gas. And the amount that he was paying in gas versus what he was making and taking home, like it was terrible. It's like, bro, you could work a ton of other jobs not having to do this, and actually, you would end up more in your net, rather than this job. But you got to look at what's actually happened in front of your face.
So I'm sure you could have found something that would have at least equaled the 3 hours.
And that is what maybe
that you wouldn't have lost.
But then we have to pay more for babysitting costs because my wife would have to work. I can't just go and work a second, third job in order.
I didn't say that. I'm saying getting a different job. Listen, buddy, you lost this job in the end anyway, and your entire complaint of this job is that you spent a week of income per month in order to maintain that job, but then you lost it anyway. But that's where adults look for a different job.
And that's what I did. And now we have a new budget with the new job that I have.
Budget?
Yeah, I've got a budget.
You have a budget.
I have a budget.
Uh-huh.
I'll admit, I do not follow it.
The f are you talking about have a budget then?
Well, with the credit card. I spend more on the credit card, but the budget, I do have one. And my wife and I, we do stick to it pretty rigorously.
Do you?
Yes, we do.
That's
yes, we
very curious.
Yeah, I'm with Caleb Hammer. I think this guy is just making a host of excuses. I think he lacks some decision-making abilities. And like I said, folks, just because a job pays more doesn't mean you're going to get to keep all that in the end. There are other factors that go into this. So if you're going to handle your finances, you know, you got to look at the jobs. You got to look at where they are. You got to look at how much, you know, if it's 45 minutes away and you got a low-paying car, especially, I mean, at the time, gas is, you know, $4.50, $5 a gallon in certain areas. You know, the more the energy costs rise, you have to pay attention to this, where you're going. All of this factors in. It's like you can't just see the biggest number and say, oh, I'm just going to end up with the most after that and not even really think it through. No, you have to do better than that. Otherwise, you're going to wind up in this position like this idiot and not, you know, being able to barely have a budget, admit to not even following it, but we kind of sort of do. Like, I'm sorry, this is not how you handle your finances, and in the end, it's going to end terribly for you. But folks, thanks for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about what Caleb Hammer had to say, destroying this Mormon for making terrible financial decisions in this exchange. Thanks again, like and subscribe, and I'll see you folks on the next one.